Hello, everyone, and welcome to Q&A with Qlik. Today, we're going to be talking about Qlik Sense Enterprise on Windows. I want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Troy Rainey. I work putting together webinars and helpful videos like this one. We've got an excellent expert panel for you today. Alan, why don't you start us off? Let us know who you are.
Hi, my name's Alan Slaughter. I've been with Qlik for 9 years, and my background is in the Qlik Sense mostly, and I do have some other imprinting or other um, uh, products that I do work on. Um, and that's about it.
Sure. I
Thank you.
figure after 9 years, you probably have lots of experience with different products.
Sure.
Joseph, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sorry, my name is Joseph Mr. Kura. I've been with Qlik for tomorrow is 25th, and I will be 13 years tomorrow,
Wow.
24 hours.
Wow.
So I work in front end, scripts, visualization, many things. Qlik View, Qlik Sense, Qlik Cloud. I think, as you said, after 13 years, you have a lot of product in the head. So thank you very much. Yeah.
Great. And Mario?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mario Petre. I have been with Qlik for the last 10 years in Qlik Support, and the area of expertise has been Qlik Sense from the very beginning, focusing mostly on backend issues, large deployments, and the sort of issues that stem from that and scalability.
Great. Well, thank you all for being here. Now, when you registered, you had an opportunity to submit some questions ahead of time, and we've got a few of those, so we'll start off there. First question. Will there be a way to use Qlik Agentic solutions on premise? Who wants to address this one? Joseph, you found this blog post, right?
Mario, you have an idea about? Yeah, this is just an article I found about it in Qlik Cloud, but I don't know if we have this feature in on the premise. That's why that we say that we can maybe contact the product manager and get information if it will be introduced or not.
Okay. So here's what we know, basically.
Yep.
And I'm not 100% sure about if it's available on-prem or not. Next question. Is it possible to store files directly to a Microsoft SharePoint, like QVD or QSV files? This question was brought up on a Qlik forum. We found this post, and Joseph, you've done some testing, but basically we've discovered that it's not possible from Qlik Sense Enterprise on-prem, but that it is
Exactly.
possible through Qlik Cloud. Is that right? Qlik Cloud Analytics?
Exactly. I don't know if I can share my screen quickly.
Sure.
I will send a request, or I don't know. Let's send a request. Someone else is sharing.
I stopped sharing, so now you can share.
Okay. Let's have this one.
Okay, we can see your
Do you see
screen
my
now.
screen? I will move this one here, maybe. Do you see the edge, what I have here?
Yes. We're on Qlik Community
Okay,
looking at
let's
patches.
go to the server here. Oh, I have to restart it. Maybe I have to move this one as well, so it can be
Yeah,
visible.
you've been logged out.
Yeah, I can log in. And I hope this is the proper machine. Appropriate one. Yeah, I think so. For QVD, yes. And what I did, I just create some script that you will see here. I have a script for SharePoint, which work well. It means I can store the QVD there. But this if this is in Qlik Sense, right? And here in Qlik Sense, this will never work, even if it works in the cloud. I run them, load them, And you can see the error that I get. You see? I'm not open file on this here. So I cannot write there. The same thing happen if I do the Google Drive. If I move Google Drive above here, I go here. Then I reload. And here I created the script in May 2025, patch 3. Because I was trying to compare with cloud, so I take the latest versions. It's not possible.
Okay.
But if you are in here, I mean, I have to reconnect as well. This work immediately. We don't have such error. It's the same script. The difference is just I update the path, the lib.
If it's working in Qlik Cloud, do you think it might work in the latest release of Qlik Sense?
I
don't know if
the
you've
latest,
tested.
the new release, the May 2025. So it's not
that
okay.
wasn't even okay.
Yes. So if
All
I
right.
launch here, the same script work here.
Great.
Yeah. So what with the thread we have in the community, we cannot.
All right. That's fair. Thanks for sharing that. All right, let's move on to the next question. We have an issue with the session monitor app on where the session duration of the users is taking long hours and it does not match when the user logged out or timed out. Any ideas?
Yeah, so I can take this one. Just this morning, we reviewed a potential defect with R&D on this area regarding lengthy sessions. And it's something that I've observed working with really, really large customers that have lots of concurrency, and especially those that have reverse proxies or any other network appliance or middleware in front of Qlik Sense. Those mechanisms themselves can keep sessions open even if the user is not actively present. And another way that this can happen is with incomplete or bad session management code in mashups, for example, that do not detect user presence. Once you're connected to the system, we'll assume you continue to be connected until the window is fully closed. But if you have a specific concern, I would say just open a case and check that community article as well, in case there is something there that can help you. It's important to also distinguish the engine session duration from proxy session duration when you're looking at the logs, and there could be a difference there. It is very common, in fact, to have multiple engine sessions against the same proxy session ID.
Right, this is that article you're talking about.
Yeah, and this is a really, really good article that explains how the different time to live and timeouts work, and how to verify using dev tools that the session state message is being sent to our servers when the specific timeout elapses.
Great. Thank you. Okay, next question. How to update our current multi-layered setup to the new limitations of not being able to make binary loads using the app ID only? Joseph, you found something about this, right? You're on mute. Joseph, you're on mute.
Sorry.
Okay.
You can search for this bug that I put there in the same link. There is another bug. QB something. If you can copy it and search it in the release note, you get the screenshot what I was the reference.
1994.
Yeah. In this release note, if you go down, you found the part where we mentioned about binary load. If you scroll down, I can
should I just search for binary?
Yes, or give me 1 minute. or
app ID?
I think it should be this one in the chat. Let's check this one.
Okay.
Is it what?
I'm not, oh, I didn't find anything when I, Well, anyway, I can't find the documentation, but there is a bug on this
If
that's
you
been
use
fixed.
what?
Is that what you're saying?
If you go down in the search there, and in the release note, with the release note, I think I shared also another article in the same documentation that you have, right?
Yes. But I'm having trouble finding exactly what you're wanting me to find. But can you just explain it?
Yeah, the problem here is that we fix a bug
Uh-huh.
which is related to what we call the relative path.
Okay.
How we use the relative path in the Qlik Sense, and how we do reference to the lib, right? With that path, we didn't allow to use again the app ID with the binary load. But if you can search in this one, enable TV path validations, you will get it. Search, enable TV,
TZ,
KVF, one word,
QVF.
one word,
My
no
gosh.
separation here. KVF, yeah, that one.
There
You
it
see,
is.
this is the bug I was talking about.
Oh,
So
there
in
it is.
this
I don't know what I've
bug,
done before.
we don't allow again to use the app ID with the binary load. It was fixed because of some kind of problem with the open doc and export
Okay.
app. But if you still want to use it, you can put this parameter in setting ini, and then you can still using the binary, the app ID, but we don't advise to do that.
Okay, well, that's fair. Great. Thank you for finding that. All right, next question. The May 2025 release states it allows for interrogation of JSON with a single field, for example, out of a database, but I've seen no details or examples of how to do this specifically. And
I think I shared online help, which the documentation how to do it. And also I shared a screenshot, because the problem is you can put it as a folder like CSV or Excel file or something like that. And then you do the reload. Before we were not able to do that. We're forced to use the REST connector. But now I test it and I shared the screenshot. I don't know if you have a screenshot.
yeah, it's not easy to show the screenshot.
Okay, I can try to upload it, and then when you can, let's see if, yeah, JSON format. I will share with you. I don't know if you can do it here. In the chat, is it possible?
No.
No. Okay. Anyway, the problem here is that we added in the list of format, when we load the data file, we have a different format, Excel file, CSV, blah, blah, blah. Now we have a new one, which is called JSON format. So you go in, you get the JSON format and the script there. So it's very easy with this documentation.
Yeah, I've just sort of pasted it into the Word doc here.
Exactly that one. So you see we have,
So
in
that's the
addition, the
format
JSON
JSON.
format, yes.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Are you guys thought I was sharing? I'm not sharing. Joseph, could you stop sharing? I thought I was
Oh,
sharing something, but I'm not.
really?
Yes.
Oh, sorry. How I do that? Okay, I found it. It was hidden there. Now you can.
Sorry about
That's
that, guys. So this is the documentation that I was talking about. Is it being shared?
Mhm. I can
Great.
see it.
And that image that I pulled over is here. So this is the screen grab where the file format is JSON and that adjusts the library. Okay, I hope that all made sense. I'm going to move on to the next question. Okay, what is the best way to export the apps, users, and streams from Qlik Sense on-premise to Qlik SaaS or Qlik Cloud so that's an automated process? And that gives me a great opportunity to talk about some upcoming sessions because we're going to focus on this topic specifically.
Mm.
Here in Qlik Community, if you go to Discover, Webinars Events, and Techspert Events, you'll find this page. Here on the upcoming events, you'll see what's coming up. And on the past events, you'll also find the recordings of all previous Q&A with Qliks. So that's a good reference for you. But on the upcoming events tab, you'll be able to find the link to register for our next Techspert talk, where we're going to be focusing on migrating to Qlik Cloud Analytics from Qlik Sense on-prem. And we're going to be highlighting some new cloud migration tools that are available for the public. So please register and attend that session and register and at least get the recording so you have all the reference material. And we're going to follow that up with a session a couple weeks later, another Q&A with Qlik, so we can address even more questions if you have any after that session, September 9th. So there's 2 sessions purely focused on migrating in the most easily automated way from Qlik Sense on Windows to Qlik Cloud. All right, moving on to the next question. After upgrading to November 2024 patch 8, does the load of the data connection section of the script editor it seems to be taking longer to load? When the script editor is opened, once the data connection section is loaded and all the data connectors are visible, the script editor runs normally, but he's finding that it's taking a while for that section to load. Any idea?
Yeah, I can take this one. So on the concept of taking a long time to load, I think we kind of just found out why that is, at least for the data connections themselves. There seems to be a problem with the cache control policy in this area of the client. So R&D is looking into that. We just discussed it this morning. But while that arrives, you can kind of get around with this or get around this by simply disabling that section, the data connections list section, before you close your tab on the data load editor. When you go back to the data load editor for any app, the list won't be there by default, and that means you can interact with the script while the data connections load in the background.
That's cool. So it remembers whatever you had opened the previous session.
Yes, but there's, as far as I know, there is no way to force a particular default. So it depends on what state you left the interface the last time you were there.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, that's nice to know. Great. All right.
And Troy, I sent you a couple links for what Joseph was talking about earlier about the binary load. I don't know if if it'd be helpful to show if anybody was looking for some links. So it one of the links had was mentioning about the defect that about the binary load. So that might be
Uh,
helpful.
did you send them in Zoom?
I sent them to your teams.
Oh, of course.
Sorry.
I had Teams
Yes.
hidden.
Yeah.
Great. Let me see if I can bring that up.
one that's it's a little old, but this
Binary
shows
loads
how
and
to
sense.
basically run the binary loads.
Fantastic. And there's another one here.
Yes. And that one's more, it's up to date, but it has the error that Joseph mentioned. And it talks about the bug below. It was marked in this link.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you for finding those.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question about fireflies. Talk to fireflies, web search enabled. Say, hi,
That's
fireflies. How can you
spam.
help? Oh, thank you. Gosh, I'm so used to real questions. I'll move over to the Q&A tool. I would like to know why some customers with a left license that don't have cloud services have the possibility to use cloud distribution. I see that with this kind of customer using more than 2 preview versions from the cloud SaaS version, the cloud distribution does not work. Even if in their left it says cloud services, yes. Oh, it does not have it. Oh, I was a little confused there.
Yeah, I just discussed on that. I'm not sure why certain lefts can do that. That's one of the things we're going to have to investigate. But I do know, you got to have a SLK in order to upload or to do the distribution to the cloud from SaaS on-prem. But that's in a we're trying to discuss why. We'll reach out to the license team to see what could be the issue behind that.
And just for clarification, that signed SLK is a signed license key that you need to have a
Correct.
hybrid deployment, right? To be able to.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me.
And there are some other questions in the regular chat.
Yeah, I was just trying to get through that. Let me delete that one. All right, the UI has changed twice. Next question. The UI has changed twice recently in a very short time span. Are there any more changes planned, or will the UI stay somewhat stable for the foreseeable future? Changing training documents frequently can be quite cumbersome. I totally understand that.
Mm.
I feel like the major changes are over, but I haven't had any recent conversations with that part of the product management team. Have you guys?
Yes and no. So there isn't anything else coming on the roadmap as far as I know. But one of the things that we did do was try to unify the clients on both platforms. So now Qlik Sense Client Managed looks a lot more like Qlik Cloud. And what you can expect in the future is UI changes that are common between these two product lines to eventually land on the next major release on Client Managed on Windows. And the time span between those, since we are now on 2 major releases per year, you would have a lead time of at least 6 months, let's say. What we can and should do better is communicate about these changes ahead of time. And we've talked with product management already on this to try to get a better coordinated communication strategy out. But for those that are already familiar with the cloud client, you'll feel right at home. And for those that haven't played around with it yet, we have benefited greatly from bringing these new paradigms down from cloud onto on-premise. It's a much more modern client architecture. And it's also great for embedding as well. So if you have mashup projects and stuff like that, you'll be able to reuse our components a lot easier than you were able to before.
Great. Good answer. Next question. Are new features for real-time resource monitoring on the roadmap, such as active sessions, cached apps, and engine or connector CPU RAM usage? Today we're using Grafana with Butler SOS, but setting up monitoring with alerts is rather hard.
I agree. So Troy and I did a webinar on advanced monitoring and live metrics, extracting live metrics from Qlik Sense Client Managed using a platform called Zabbix. But Butler SOS is a great place to start, and extending on top of that should be fairly easy, even though cumbersome. I think one of the things that you can use without moving away from Butler, which is a great place to be anyways, take a look at this webinar and see the sort of indicators and counters that we expose in these templates, and then try to replicate those on the product itself. And just to remind you, all of this information is coming either directly from Windows performance counters or health check endpoints provided by the product itself. So if there is some specific information that you're missing, like how many apps are open on or loaded in memory on a particular node, you can get that directly from the engine health check API and expose into whatever monitoring tool you have. I think at this point, like relying only on logs just to measure concurrency, for example, or overall usage and resources is kind of the wrong place to be, because it's always going to be a lagging indicator, and you're not going to be able to read them live unless you lock with those files. So the way that the different login libraries work in the Butler SOS ecosystem let you expose that to New Relic, for example, or any other external logging place. But Zabbix is also a great place to start, at least. And the templates that are available already on the community article, I think cover most of what you're talking about in this question, Ivan.
Great. And next, and yeah, that's an excellent session. Mario covered a lot of really cool stuff in that. So definitely check it out. Next question. Could you show us some navigation session? And I was a little confused when I read that, but we did do a Techspert talk called Navigation Showcase. If you guys don't use the search tool in Qlik Community, it's the best hidden resource there is. Showcase. See if I can find
And
it.
if you're talking about tracking a user's session through the different logs and mechanisms that we have for tracking that, I think maybe that would be a great subject for a dedicated webinar, because it is quite involved. The user's activity can pass through many different services and logs. Keeping track of all of that and unifying it, let's say, can be a bit tricky to answer here today.
Yeah, but this was Patrick Nordstrom, Director of Product Management for front end things, and he went through a lot of cool new ways to navigate and give it some tricks. So that's a pretty cool session as well. Let's see if I'm trying not to miss anything. Next one. All right. I upgraded to November 2024 patch 13, and I'm trying to do binary loading between different servers. Until recently, everything worked fine. Since the upgrade, it doesn't work.
Yeah, this could be related to that defect that Joseph was talking about, where we fixed or now are actively preventing you from being able to tap into binary files that don't have an extension.
Right.
It could have fallen in that bucket.
Where was there was kind of a workaround, although you didn't recommend it. Is that right? Can you just refresh my memory? Let's see. Make a copy of the app ID, paste it into the same location, renaming it.
Or disable the parameter from the release note. I think it was not shared when we talk about it. Maybe you can share that release note again.
Oh my gosh. Look at this. It's a nightmare of tabs. I'm just going to start closing things. Where was it? I brought up a bunch of sessions thinking you guys might ask about this. Set analysis to the gateway with this blog post. Here we go.
Folks, keep the questions coming.
Yeah, these are all great questions. So this is the bug that kind of closed that possibility. But if this is the, let me turn that off.
We've left the door open.
So if you turn that to, yeah, you can add that to your settings INI to disable that feature. And then hopefully you should have the same functionality you had previously. Am I understanding that right?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Great. Well, we've answered all the questions. You're welcome. We got all the things. And I'll post this link to the documentation on that, just so you can have that. The bug was, or the defect was called 29696. If you have any further questions, please submit them now. But so far, we've gotten through everything. All right, one just came in. Is there any plan to integrate Lineage into Qlik Sense Enterprise on Windows? That's a really good question because that's one of the cool features in Qlik Cloud.
Mhm.
Why not have it? I don't have the answer to that, but
Well, we used to have a client managed product for Qlik Lineage for analyzing Qlik Lineage. I think it was called Node Graph, and this was discontinued. I'm not sure if there are any plans on bringing such a capability back to client managed. But a good thing is that these the lineage data itself is still being produced, and you can query it
right.
with different other mechanisms. There is just no pretty interface on top of it, let's say. But yeah, in cloud, this is fully explored, or maybe not fully explored, but certainly quite fleshed out.
Yeah, and
Maybe
made
the
me
question we can bring to the product manager to see if there is an idea about it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. If you guys haven't seen the space on Qlik Community called Ideation, it's under the support section. And here is where product management basically collects your input as customers and partners about what features you're looking to add or functionality you want to improve. You can go to suggest features or open the portal. I think they both bring us to the same place. You'll need to make sure you're logged in. I believe I am. But then you can bring me back. Search for an improvement. What are we talking about? Lineage. See if there are any suggestions already for Lineage and Qlik Sense Enterprise on Windows. I see that keyword has popped up a lot here, but you can kind of go through these. You can see the status of any request that's already been suggested. And if you don't find something that matches what you're looking for, you can suggest your own. Make a suggestion. And our product management team definitely takes a look at this. You can see all the different suggestions. You can upvote other ideas that other people have suggested, or say you're not interested in things you people suggested, and product management takes a look at this. If some idea or feature request has gotten a lot of votes, they definitely consider that when they're weighing which options to include in the next feature. Great. Next question. Table asset in Qlik Cloud is retired as of today. We have the pivot table asset, straight table, and table. Can we use the last one in the near future, and for how long?
I think the one to go with from now on would be straight table. We didn't support this for anything other than the regular straight table, which is why it was just called table before. But now to distinguish between the straight table and pivot, it got renamed. But functionally, it should be the same. If that's not the case, let us know, Ilian.
Great. And one question slipped into the chat here. On the topic of performance logging, does performance monitoring via Zabbix make it possible to monitor individual app resource demand to identify problematic apps? Or are there other ways to identify such apps?
So, I mean, I can take this one since we did the webinar together. Most of the indicators that you extract with Zabbix are, let's say, aggregate counters. So you're looking at health information from a specific node. You're going to see overall resource consumption, memory allocation, selections, other types of indicators for that particular node. But if you want to dig deeper into a specific application, we have a couple of different ways of doing that. One of them is running the app metadata analyzer against your application pool and then selecting the application that you want to understand better. This will give you quite a lot of information about the size of tables, what fields are used, unused, how big certain tables are, whether you have problematic expressions, etc. This is a very, very useful place to start. And in the case of Qlik Cloud, you can run the app evaluator tool. But since we're on premise, the other place to check is using Qlik Explorer for developers. If there is, this is a different tool that I can share a link to.
Yeah, please do if you have
where
it.
you can live monitor the progress information that is coming from the engine as you are opening and interacting with the application, especially during the app opening phase. If you are familiar with monitoring scheduler logs, you would see similar things in there, because this is how we get the progress for a particular reload task from the engine. What this information shows is what we exposed in the client front end when you load an app in Qlik Cloud. You see a really nice kind of scrolling animation and a bunch of counters for loading fields, loading tables, etc. With Qlik Explorer for developers, you get a little bit more detailed output. If you can scroll down, Troy, there is a nice screenshot illustrating that. Right there. Yep, a little bit further up.
Yeah, sorry, went further than I wanted to.
There we go. So you can see here timings and deltas for the different operations happening at the engine level while opening the app. And you can of course compare what you know to be a nice performing app with one that is struggling a little bit, and see what the key differences are. One of the things that could be slowing you down is, for example, if that app has a lot of fields on the fly that have to be built in when the app is being loaded into memory. If you try to move those to pre-generated, that will help a lot. But between these two tools, you should get a fairly good understanding of where application performance can or performance degrades can come from. And a third place that I want to direct you to is the admin playbook, and I think you know how to get there, right? We've used this resource many times in these webinars.
Yeah, I feel like we had a link to it in here.
I can drop one in here.
Thanks. Oops, wrong one. Oh.
Let me see if I can find the right version that is under product support.
Yeah, I didn't have it on top of my head.
Here we go.
Yeah, this
so
is great.
Under the ad hoc column, all the way to the right, you have a whole white paper or article written by one of our internal engineers that walks you through an inspection exercise, basically, or an app evaluation exercise.
Fantastic. Well, while we were talking all about that, some more questions have come in.
Mm-hmm.
Next question, does Qlik have an internal method to test data difference between application updates? I currently export the data into Excel to run Power Query. I mean, I feel like a lot of our data integration tools are all about that. Am I wrong?
So this is one of the things that Lineage helps with.
That's true.
If there was a good way to inspect, basically you could track changes in data over time, and in fact where the changes are coming from. And since we're circling back a little bit on this topic, I forgot to mention our third-party and partner ecosystem. There may be a solution out there, something called an extension or a third-party product that you can install alongside Qlik Sense that will give you some insights into on-premise Lineage.
Yeah. Might be a good time to bring up the forums. We got these great community forums. There's over 250,000 users on here. So if you post a question in one of these forums that's relevant to your question or request, there's a good chance of getting some feedback that way quickly. All right, next question. Is there or will there be a dark mode for Qlik Sense Enterprise on Windows? And what do we mean by dark mode?
Just dark mode, dark mode for websites, so that it automatically switches when it's nighttime to not burn your retinas. Our product is
Thank you.
very reliant on white backgrounds.
Well,
If I could recommend an extension, a
themes.
browser extension, not quite. So yes, you could apply a theme, but then you're imposing your design onto all the other users. And it's not something that transitions seamlessly between daytime and nighttime, like dark mode on the OS would. But you can always use third-party extensions in the browser. One that works fairly well, I would say, with our product overall, is Dark Reader.
All right, Dark Reader.
But yes, we can only hope. The sooner the
Great.
better.
These are great questions. Keep them coming. Next question. Are you planning to implement a code versioning in Qlik Sense? There is a versioning tool available on GitHub, right? I feel like I've seen, of course, I feel like
it should be there, but just talking about the concept, first, we allow the use of include statements so that you can bring in bits of Qlik script that is not from an external file. You could do your code versioning on those files, but it would make reading through the data load editor, for example, through all of the script sections a little bit difficult if you don't have access to the source files themselves. But that is one way that some of our customers are integrating code versioning and delivery pipelines into Qlik Sense on-premise.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that posted. It'll take me a while to find the link, but good. Okay, next question is just a follow-up about the table. There is no need to change the table asset manually where we have used it, right?
Maybe this is something that we could follow up on in a community article. I'd be surprised if there is no what's new article on this particular change, especially since we deprecated something that used to be there or decided to retire it. But
yeah,
it's a little tricky to make assumptions. But I would assume that yes, since we are just trying to distinguish between two different table types, that your original table assets would be interpreted as straight table instead of just table.
great.
If you don't have that experience, do let us know, and it's something that we can follow up with internally.
All right, next question. Someone's having an issue with the telemetry dashboard. You did.
No, they're just saying we didn't give it any love. I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to forget about it. The 3 things that I mentioned are a great place to start. If you want to really dig deep into object, memory footprint, and compute being used for different operations at the engine level, then of course, deep diving into telemetry dashboard results would be the next logical step. Didn't mean to leave it out.
That's great. And last question so far. Is there a plan to allow trend lines in a line graph with 2 dimensions? Currently, I can add only 1 trend line to line graphs with a single dimension. That's a little outside my wheelhouse. Joseph, do you have any familiarity with this topic? You're on mute.
Yeah, really no, but I think something also we can put in the ideation.
Okay.
I can check, and then maybe if I get some information, I can contact you.
Great. And again, that's on Qlik Community under support, ideation, and that's where you can see what people have suggested. There could be something on there regarding trend lines and a line graph already. One more question came in. When patching Enterprise on-prem, does the newest patch also contain the fixes provided in past patches? For example, we're on November 2024 patch 10 and would like to patch to 14 and want to keep all those fixes I already have.
Well, I can say yes, it does. It does include the previous. So your latest patch will include everything in the past. So it's always that way. So it will it always include what was in the past into the new release.
Oh, and you guys have found some links for me. This was regarding version control.
Mhm.
I'll share that with everyone. And look at this. Dark mode.
It's an old one. Like somebody had already submitted this idea, but it got looks like it's not something that they are pushing it out this time.
There's this is on garden.qlik.dev where people have some extensions.
Yeah. Just a little bit of clarity on this. I think I understand why it's difficult for us to change color schemes like that across the product, because our analytics language relies on certain standard colors to indicate, for example, to tell you about the inference behind the scenes, right? So the white, green, and gray, if you flip those around, you may get completely different shades and not really know what the product is telling you anymore. So we would have to be very, very careful with this. And like I said, you can always try to use a third-party extension. And those work especially for the QMC, for example, where there is no data beyond counters and a few menus. That works very, very well. But once you have very visually attractive visualizations and analytics apps deployed, it starts to get tricky to just invert them, let's say, and make what are clear colors and darken them, because you may lose context, you may lose informational awareness from these applications. So use with caution.
All right. Well, no more questions are coming in, so I want to thank all of you for attending and your great questions. Thank you so much to this expert panel, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Troy. Thank you, all attendees.
Thank you.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.
Everyone.